Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today is June 21st, 2025. This is Leon Weinstein speaking from Los Angeles, California. The United States has struck Iran's nuclear facilities. Let's talk about this, about Trump's statement, and about the possible consequences. On Saturday evening, the President of the United States, Donald Trump, that is today, published a statement on the platform in which he announced the completion of a strike by American armed forces on 3 nuclear facilities in Iran. According to him, the operation was successful and all the planes have already left the country's airspace. We have completed our very successful attack on 3 nuclear facilities in Iran, including Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan, wrote Trump. All the planes are now outside Iranian airspace. He added that the main strike was delivered on the Fordo facility, where a full bomb load was dropped, and all the aircraft involved are safely flying home. Concluding his statement, Trump thanked the American military and emphasized that there is no other army in the world that could do this. Now is the time for peace. According to journalist Akshes Barak Ravid, an Israeli official reported that Israel was notified about the attack in advance. The targets of the strike in their context. Trump's statement said that the strikes hit 3 key sites. Fordo is an underground nuclear facility in the mountains. Natanz is the largest uranium enrichment plant. And Isfahan is a storage site for uranium enriched to a level that was already close to weapons grade. According to reports, inspectors from the International Atomic Energy Agency, or International Atomic Energy Agency, visited the sites just 2 weeks before the attack. Fordo is considered a hard-to-reach target that Israel was previously unable to destroy due to limited logistics and capabilities. The United States attack was the first major strike against it. What was the reaction in Israel and Iran? Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar said that the strike set back Iran's nuclear program by at least 2 to 3 years. Nevertheless, he admitted that some key facilities, including Fordo, have still not been completely destroyed. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian, in turn, rejected the United States' demands for a complete shutdown of the nuclear program. We will not reduce our nuclear development to zero under any circumstances, he said, emphasizing that Iran is ready for dialogue but will continue military actions against Israel. According to the MER agency, which is close to the Iranian government, Tehran maintains its intention to respond to the actions of the United States and Israel by military means. Will there be a new war? I think everyone is asking that. Experts and former officials have different assessments of the likelihood of the conflict expanding. Dennis Ross, former United States Special Envoy to the Middle East, believes that how events unfold will depend on the scale of American actions. I want to point out that all of this was said in the last 48 hours, that is, before the strike. But the discussion was about what would happen if the United States strikes. So here is Dennis Ross. If the United States limits itself to strikes on nuclear facilities, the conflict can be contained. But if the attack is broad, possibly aiming for regime change, Iran may escalate. He does not rule out, so to speak, attempts to attack oil infrastructure. He means United States allies like Abu Dhabi, Saudi Arabia, or attempts to block the Hormuz Strait, which would naturally cause a sharp rise in oil prices. Ian Bremmer, that's him. The president noted that the Iranian leadership has so far shown restraint and avoided striking American interests, fearing, as they say, to provoke them. However, direct United States intervention could change this balance. He warns that unauthorized actions by Iranian military are possible, which would lead to increased tensions. Unauthorized means, let's say, some unit commander might decide to launch a missile somewhere. Anything is possible, Ray Taki. Senior research fellow at the Council on Foreign Relations emphasized that only the United States is capable of destroying Fordo. In his opinion, Trump faced a dilemma: to stop Iran at any cost or to prevent a new war at any cost. Well, now we can already see that Trump has made his decision regarding this dilemma. Richard Grenell, the former director of national intelligence during Trump's first term, noted that in the event of an attack on American forces, Iran could face a catastrophic response. However, even in the case of a temporary lull, Iran may resort to terror and asymmetric warfare, using proxy groups around the world. Let me remind you that Hamas is basically crushed now and can't operate anymore, thank God. Hezbollah, generally speaking, also doesn't have the capability, and the Houthis still have some capabilities, but once the American bombers, so to speak, already gave them a beating. And I think that, well, they will do whatever Iran tells them to do, but if they do something like that, there will be even more consequences. There will be 3, 10, 20 times more than there was the first time. And who else? Well, there are the remaining Houthis. As I already said, there are Iranian forces in Iraq, so-called militias, and Iran itself has its own forces scattered across its territory. Robert Peep, a professor of political science at the University of Chicago, believes that the strike on Fordoy and Tanzu was inevitable, but warns about the possibility of surprises, from strikes on a wide network of military facilities to the use of special forces to block underground shafts. It's important to understand that the bombing of Fordo will not be the final act in this conflict. So he doesn't think Iran will just raise its hands and surrender? That's my conclusion, at least, even though Trump said that now is the time for peace. Military and political experts warn that the new round of confrontation between the United States, Israel, and Iran could go beyond an isolated operation. In the absence of diplomatic regulation, the Middle East once again finds itself on the brink of a large-scale conflict. I really hope that in the White House, in the Pentagon, and in the headquarters handling all this, they've calculated everything properly, unlike how our previous presidents did. So far, Trump is showing himself to be a very different person in every way compared to those presidents who started or initiated other wars. The goal of this operation, but I think we can already call it a war, is to prevent psychopaths from getting their hands on very serious, destructive weapons. And if the psychopaths say we won't do this and agree to all the conditions for how we will check and regulate this, then they will probably stay in power in Iran, and the war won't go very far. If they start to resist, then, well, what can you do, so to speak? I think they will be destroyed. And maybe a serious and long war. I really hope that doesn't happen. Because, of course, that would immediately affect the whole situation that Trump was building inside the country, with the whole world and so on. We were moving toward peaceful or non-military ways of solving problems. You should always have a hammer ready. And everyone should know that, if necessary, we'll use it, but so to speak, we should try not to use it. This time, I think America had no other choice but to use that hammer. And I really hope that from now on, everything will move towards de-escalation. Well, of course, the optimal option would be an uprising or something like that by the army, which is not involved. Only the Revolutionary Guard is taking part in this. An army uprising led by the opposition, cleansing Iran and establishing another regime, more secular, more normal, closer to the 21st century and to the way you and I live. That's all for now. Goodbye. I'll keep you updated if there's anything new.